You want to figure out what you want to do with your life, your second act? Talent, what do you do best? You've got to do an assessment and go, what do I do really, really well? We're looking for 7s, 8s, and 9s. Anything below that, ignore it. It's not going to give you any clues. It's just going to tell you what you shouldn't be doing. So if you're looking at a second act, and we can dive into this if you want, but I've got to know what I'm good at, I got to know what work I love, and I got to know what results fire me up. That's key. When those are clear, and then we can show how they're in alignment, ding, 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 now we can go with great confidence.
Welcome to Second Act Stories, a podcast that profiles people who have made major life and career changes and are pursuing more rewarding lives in a second act. I'm your host, Scott Merritt.
And I'm Andy Levine, today's co-host for Second Act Stories. Today's a really interesting interview. It's what we like to call an expert interview. You interviewed someone I talked to about 18 months ago. He's a terrific, terrific guest. Tell us about today's episode, Scott.
Yeah, that's right, Andy. So today we are going to feature Ken Coleman, the host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The Ken Coleman Show. I traveled to Nashville to the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, where Ken is a national personality, and we discussed his new best-selling book called From Paycheck to Purpose.
I had read his previous book called The Proximity Principle. I really loved it. I can't wait to hear this interview.
It's a great compliment to the last book, and I can't wait for our listeners to hear it. All right. Ken Coleman, thank you for joining me today on Second Act Stories.
Excited to be with you.
So your new book is called From Paycheck to Purpose. Tell me a little bit about what the focus of the book is.
Yeah, well, it's just that. It is how to take somebody's mindset first, the way they view work, and then taking them from the actual, not just the way they view work, but the way they do work. Okay, so you've got from paycheck to purpose. And those 4 words, it encompasses the emotions around work. And what I mean by that is most people, you know this, most people view work as a utilitarian function. I have to do it, right? So I work to live because the paycheck takes care of my life, right? I've got to provide for myself and others. All right. And so that's the overwhelming belief and view of work in the world. All right. Mm-hmm. I see work as not something that I have to do to live, but something that I was created to do. So I could flip that and say, we live to work. Now, some people are already freaking out when they hear that. Like, this guy's lost his mind. I'm not in any way espousing workaholism or anything like that. What I'm saying is, if I were to substitute the word work, okay, with contribute, it would change the way you hear that sentence. So you were created to work, right? Or you live to work. Huh? But if I say you live to contribute to the world.
Whole different connotation.
Whole different connotation. And that immediately connects to people's heart because we as humans long to make a contribution, to make a difference. That's where meaning is connected to actual work. So from paycheck to purpose is, number 1, we're trying to adjust your mindset of how you view work. And then number 2, we're trying to actually get you to do the work you were created to do. And so purpose is contribution. Paycheck is provision. And so we encompass the work. Well, I've got to take care of myself and others, but I also want to make a difference. And the reality is you can do both. And most people don't realize that. They feel like it's kind of this lucky, kind of mystical thing that a few fortunate souls fall into. And I say that's not true. Meaning and money are there. Income and impact are there. It should be in the same place.
You've got a journey of your own that went to purpose.
That's
Can
right.
you tell me a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, I appreciate that because this book is not my opinion. There's a big difference between an opinion and an experience. And so this book and the 7 stages that we unpack in the book come from my journey. And so the short version is I was a guy who was very on purpose, always on purpose, and felt like I absolutely knew what my calling was from the age of 16. And so I pursued that. I had success in it, and I played it out. So it was politics, right? Public office. Eventually run. I worked in it, was working for the governor of Virginia at the age of 22. and had a lot of success. Then I crossed over into the private sector for the purposes of building a leadership resume so that when I ran one day, I would have more on my resume than just an insider in politics. So I was playing the whole strategy out. I was in the suburbs of Atlanta, and I was, in a situation where I had my own little small business, that was just taking care of the fam because I was plotting my step into politics, and it began to wane. The passion for politics began to wane. It was about a 3-year period where I just kind of put it off a little bit. I kind of knew it, but I didn't confirm it. And then it got to the point where I confirmed it. And I was in my early 30s, 32, 33, and it began to really eat away at me because I knew it wasn't politics and I hadn't confronted it fully, and I finally confronted it. And then all of a sudden I'm in a place of confusion, disillusionment. What's going on? Did I waste my life up to this point? I was always on purpose. How did I not see this? Beating myself up, a range of emotions, and began the process of self-discovery. I had some good friends who were world-class executive coaches, and they gave me some tools and things, and so I began the process by myself of going back in and going, okay, if it's not politics, why is it no longer politics? And if it's not politics, what is it? And went through that journey, and then, figured out it was broadcasting. But then that created a whole new level of tension for me because I didn't have any training in it. I didn't have any experience in it. And so that's where I sat, and I had to figure out how I was going to do this and still take care of my family. And I couldn't just walk over into a new arena. And so 7-year journey, 2 more years of paying my dues once I got in, and then the dream job. So about a 9.5-year process.
Right. So you said you were in your 30s by the time you came to this realization.
Oh, yeah.
And you decide that your purpose is in a whole different direction. Mm-hmm. It's broadcasting, where you have no experience.
Yeah, none.
And you got to start from
scratch.
From scratch.
But I can't start from scratch financially because I got a wife and 3 kids.
Right.
You
so
see what I'm saying?
How do you approach that journey? Yeah. How does somebody who's in that same kind of a situation approach that?
Yeah.
Because it seems impossible when you have to feed 3 kids and a wife.
Yeah, it absolutely seems impossible, but it's not. So what you have to do is you have to say, all right, I've got responsibilities. Got to have that paycheck. Paychecks are good, but I've got responsibilities. I can't just up and shut everything down. I've got to have a certain amount of money. So where can I cut? So how can I tighten my budget? How can I live way less? That's the first thing you look at. And I looked at what could I do? Well, I did as much of that as I could, but I still couldn't step fully into it. You can't just cut and sell your house and do all that and then go take a 70-80% pay cut. That still's not going to cut it for you.
Right. So along your journey, you decide that broadcasting is the path for you.
I didn't initially know. I thought it was sports broadcasting, but there's a lot of testing here. Okay, so I feel pretty darn sure it's broadcasting, but I don't know. And I think this is important for people because what I teach in the book, in the 7 stages, and when I coach people on air or in person, there is this little process called clarify and verify. And it's in stage 1 that we unpack in the book, get clear. In the process of getting clear, I have some pretty good notions and ideas. So yes, I absolutely believed it was broadcasting, but there's a difference between belief and know. But most people get hung up in that tension, that gap between belief and knowing, to answer your question. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, all right, if I'm going to do broadcasting, do I want to do hard news? No. Do I want to do political news? No. What kind of broadcasting would I think that I might enjoy? And I go, well, I love sports. And I love talking sports. To this day, still, I love talking sports. And so I knew that, okay, I could do sports. Well, so I go into it and I get into it and I go, okay, this is fun. But there was a piece that was missing. And the piece that was missing is now represented in my methodology, and we'll get to that. But the results of doing sports broadcasting, it wasn't enough for me, meaning it was entertainment, and I didn't want to just entertain people. I really wanted to go deeper. And so as I began to get into sports broadcasting, that's when I realized it's not sports broadcasting, but what kind of broadcasting is it? And it's now in the space that I'm in now. And it was like, can I do personal growth peak performance, that kind of messaging on the airwaves, TV, radio, and beyond. And it turns out you can.
So it sounds like broadcasting was scratching one itch. And then the second level of that was really finding out what niche of broadcasting you needed to be in.
Really good question. That's right. And so that gets to talent, passion, and mission. Okay, so talent's what we do best. Those are the premium tools. Okay, you want to figure out what you want to do with your life, your second act? Talent, what do you do best? You've got to do an assessment and go, what do I do really, really well? We're looking for 7s, 8s, and 9s. Anything below that, ignore it. It's not going to give you any clues. It's just going to tell you what you shouldn't be doing. All right? Passion is work you love to do. So to your question, I love performing. If I'm going to just strip it down to one thing, the type of work I love is a performance. And so the broadcasting really felt like it met that need, that passion. I love to perform. Now, mission is the results that matter deeply to me. And so the shift from sports to the personal growth and peak performance and purpose. So that's the jam for me, because the results that I care most about, not entertaining, but equipping. My number one missional result is influence. As you know, in stage 1, get clear. So if you're looking at a second act, and we can dive into this if you want, but I've got to know what I'm good at, I got to know what work I love, and I got to know what results fire me up. That's key. When those are clear, and then we can show how they're in alignment, ding, 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 now we can go with great confidence.
So let's talk a little bit about people who are in jobs where they're unrewarding or they're just kind of there for the paycheck. How do they take that first step to moving to more rewarding work?
Okay, so this is a great segue. So I just walked through the get clear stage methodology. So I need to know what my purpose is at work. And your purpose at work is to use what you do best, talent, to do work you love, passion, to produce results that matter to you, mission. Now, I explained talent a little bit. Let's dive into passion. So the reason that I use the word passion to describe work you love is because I did some research on it, and the root word of passion in the Latin is pati, P-A-T-I, and it means to suffer. Now, this is interesting. You're going, what? Oh, what that means is the work, so the application here is that I'm willing to suffer, watch this, rejection. I'm willing to suffer failure. Watch this, I'm willing to suffer patience. Oh, isn't patience hard? It suffers. It's suffering. That's emotional suffering, folks. Come on.
Yeah.
And then the way that it was used in the ancient language, the context for pati and to suffer was used as this context, a thirst that must be quenched. All right, so now I'm done with the word studying, all the nerding out, and I'm going to bring it back to, you're going, what's rewarding work? Rewarding work starts with work that I love to do, and I'm willing to suffer rejection, failure, patience to be able to do the work.
Interesting.
I get the juice, man, when I'm on a microphone and I'm encouraging and equipping people. And that's the key. And if I affect one person out of this interview or on my show later this morning, it's worth it. So we've got to understand, what work do you love to do? You just love the work. You ever seen these craftsmen and their hands are all beat up and they got arthritis, but they just can't stop building something, fixing something? What's going on there? They love the work. And then the last piece is, when I love it, does the work. I can love a certain type of work. I love performing on a microphone and communicating. But to communicate to entertain in sports radio would not give me the juice I have today. But communicating to equip and encourage, that's the juice. So what is rewarding work? Work that I love.
So you declare in the book that dream jobs do exist and they're for everyone.
That's exactly right.
What would you tell a skeptic?
I would tell a skeptic you've never tasted and seen and smelt a dream job for yourself, but you've seen it for others. I would press them. You're telling me you've never known anybody in your life, and I guess it's possible, but you've never read a book, you've never seen a movie that depicted somebody that was really in their zone. And then I would say, okay, let's break down what I just talked about, my methodology. Do you think you were born with talent? Do you think that there's work out there, a task or a function that lights your heart up? You get excited thinking about it when you're in the middle of it, time stands still. Do you think that's possible? And then do you think that there are results that if I told you you were able to do these things for other people and get paid for it, that you wouldn't feel good at the end of the day? The skeptic can't debate this. It's not debatable.
We'll be back with more of Ken Coleman right after this quick word from our friends at Crash.co and the Daily Job Hunt.
Hey, just wanted to chime in real quick. This is Joel, and my second act story is I worked for 10 years in education and in classical music, and just this past year I made a big switch into the private sector at a startup company doing what makes me come alive, and that is working for the Daily Job Hunt by Crash.co. I write a daily email with quick tips and inspirations on how to land a job without a resume, to creatively stand out, take charge, forge your path, and make your life happen. So definitely want to encourage you to check that out. This is Crash.co, Crash.co. Even if you're not on the job hunt, it's a real short, snappy email that could be really valuable for you. Again, that's Crash.co, Crash.co. All right, let's go back to the show.
How can somebody who doesn't know how to identify what their dream job might be or what they might be best suited for, how can they identify what that might be? Are there any tools?
Well, yeah, we've got an assessment. Well, first of all, the book is the book in the first 2 chapters walks people through what I've been going through in the last couple questions. So it allows them to just walk through and do it themselves, get feedback from others. But that's intimidating for a lot of people. So we created the Get Clear Career Assessment. And in 20 minutes, I and my team, we work together, and we're going to walk you through a series of questions, and you're going to get a report on what you do best, your talent. There are 12 universal talents, and you're going to see where you rank on all 12, but you're going to get a detailed report on your top 3. Now you know these are my premium tools. Same thing with passion, work you love. So again, once I'm in alignment and I see this is my top talent, this is my top passion, this is my primary missional driver. Motivation is all about mission. Okay? People miss motivation all the time. How do I get motivated? You don't get motivated. You already are motivated. You just got to get clear on what your motive is. What is your why at work? Once you see what your professional purpose is, you still have to look to the marketplace and you start looking at job descriptions, right? You start looking at areas, you go, does this align with my purpose? And if it doesn't, if you're spending 75% of your day doing what you're really good at, doing work you love, and producing results that matter to you, I got news for you. It's not on purpose.
Right. So the need for experience to enter whatever your dream field might be is there. So how does somebody go about getting that experience? Is it about just showing up? Is it about making certain connections? How do you get started on that?
Well, you certainly got to make connections, but you've got to be willing to work for free. This freaks people out. I walked into a sports radio station in Atlanta, the number 1 ESPN affiliate in a top 10 city. And I walked in and said, hey, I'm willing to work for free 3 days a week for 3 hours a day. I'll answer phones. I'll get the host Sprite. I'll make coffee. I'll do research. I'll look up sound effects on YouTube. I'm not kidding you. And what you know what they said? They're like, okay. So A, swallow your pride. B, get connected. C, put yourself out there to work free or for next to nothing and get experience wherever, whenever, however. Okay, now mine is an extreme case. Broadcasting, very difficult to get into and very difficult to move up. But you know what I like about that? Because my journey is probably harder than yours will be. But how do I get the experience? I get the experience.
Right. So this leads me to your story again. So it's not often an obvious or linear path to a dream job. And
very rarely.
Yours is a great example of that, because even when you got hired at Ramsey Solutions, it wasn't doing what you're doing now.
Not fully. But I'm glad you bring this up. So it looked like this before I got to Ramsey Solutions, right? Just take a pencil and give it to a toddler and let them draw a bunch of squiggly lines. There was a lot of that. Once I got to Ramsey Solutions, though, and this is the key, I was on the right ladder. So I came in and I took over the Entree Leadership Podcast, which is still one of the top leadership podcasts in the entire world.
Right.
I was the video channel host of the Dave Ramsey Show. Hello. The second largest radio show in the country, massive YouTube audience, and I was live every day. And then I was the MC of all the Ramsey live events. So 45 live events, you're talking about being in front of 100,000 people. Okay? Was that in my sweet spot? Absolutely it was. But was it my dream job? No. So that's the key distinction. And so I had to get in on that rung of the ladder, knowing that there was an opportunity for me to be a personality. There was no promise, but there was an opportunity. Was it the dream job? No. But for 3 years, I paid my dues in that, and then I stepped into the dream job.
Right. All of this just makes me think of Maslow's hierarchy.
Yes.
And reaching that self-actualization.
100%. I'm absolutely in that place now.
That's great news.
Without question.
So how would you advise somebody who's looking to make a move to identify what's a good opportunity if it's not linear and it's not obvious?
Well, I think it can be. I think it can be obvious, but again, you're going to have to dig and look, right? The reason that I teach the 7 stages, which I want to unpack very briefly because it's relevant to this question.
Yeah.
Get clear. We've been talking a lot. You've heard me walk through get clear multiple times today. Talent, passion, mission. That is when I'm clear on those indicators in my life. They come together in alignment because I can look at it and I go, when I use what I do best, talents. When I do work I love, passion, and produce results that matter to me, okay, I'm on purpose. So now they come in alignment and they start to point. It's like a neon arrow pointing to the marketplace. So I'm out there looking, discovering, talking, sampling, trying, whatever. And when I do that, I'm going to start to get a very, very clear signal from my heart. It just will. It just will. And so once I'm there, I can now say, all right, what is it going to take to get qualified? That's stage 2. So what do I have to learn, do? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? Those are the 4 qualifying questions in the book that we unpack. That's stage 2, get qualified. Stage 3 is get connected. While I'm getting qualified, I need to be getting connected. I'm doing those 2 at the same time, those 2 stages, stage 2 and 3. And so while I'm getting qualified, I'm getting connected so that opportunities come to me many times before I'm even ready to take them. And they're going, okay, he's getting qualified. Or there's ample opportunities once I'm ready. Okay. Stage 4 is get started. Stage 5 is get promoted. That's where we're climbing the ladder. I'm on the ladder in stage 4. I'm climbing the ladder in stage 5. Eventually I climb beautifully right into stage 6, get the dream job where I'm in now. What's the dream job? Using what I do best, to do work I love, to produce results that matter to me. I mean, this is the dream. Stage 7 is give yourself away. What does that mean? The income is there. I'm doing what I love. Now it's just about how do I multiply the impact. That's me right now. I'm in my dream job. I am by no means done. Not even close, Lord willing. I mean, I'm dreaming. I'm redreaming. I'm expanding the dream at this point.
Talk about the importance of looking at all those ladders that you can potentially get on and start climbing. They all kind of look the same at the bottom. And then they all go in different directions as you climb. How do you get to the right ladder?
Yeah, well, again, you might have multiple options, but the question is as you weigh the options, what are the best options? And I think that's what it comes down to. And so you got to sit there and you got to go, okay, good is the enemy of great. And good is a distraction sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And what that means is if I'm looking at, to the spirit of your question, 3 or 4 options, then I've got to weigh those options by not what looks good and feels good, but what is going to be long-term great. See, great decisions don't always look good and feel good. Many times great decisions are saying no to a really good decision and you pass up on a promotion, maybe more money and all that, and you stay here because you realize that for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, this isn't going to be like this over here. But boy, I get to that 18-month mark and I'm going. I'm on it.
Let's get back to helping people find their way to their journey. How do you avoid just networking and make a true connection when the person you're making that connection with kind of knows why you're making that connection?
Yeah. It's the simple posture switch from do something for me, right, to teach me something. Not do something for me, teach me something. Big difference. And so networking is all about, I'm going to try to have as many coffees as I can and blah, 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 to find out which way to go on it. And it just feels very transactional, okay? Versus sitting down in those connections, same coffee, and getting out a pad of paper and a pencil and having about 5 to 6 questions ready to go that aren't about what they can do for you, but what they can show you. What do they think the best pathway is? What was their pathway? Okay. Wisdom. I've got a couple of options in front of me. Should I do this or should I do this? See the difference? Knowledge and wisdom. Come hungry. That means show them you're ready to learn and you've prepared and you're serious. You're not wasting their time. Humble, which is just unbelievable gratitude and a spirit of a student. It's that humility and hunger is what will drive the results from those connections. It's relational then. Then they go, this is a person that I'm so happy to pour into them because I feel like it's going to go somewhere. Be a sponge.
How do you counsel someone who just loves where they work and who they work with to leave that behind when waking up on Monday morning is a joy because you love where you're going, but there's no path forward?
You can love the people, right, that you work with. You can love the place. But at some point that's going to wear off. And you won't have joy going in the morning because you'll go, you know what it'll turn into is confusion. You'll go, gosh, I love the people I work with. Oh, love the organization. Oh, Ramsey Solutions is great. Everything about Ramsey Solutions is great. Missional, world-class organization. Helped millions and millions and millions and millions of people. Love my team. Something's missing. And what's missing is the meaning in the work.
And it's interesting because what you are recommending might go against what the common advice might be from regular people. Oh, you work for such a great company. Why would you ever leave? Or you're crazy for resigning from that position. That's a great path.
Yeah, but those are the same people who would never dream of doing what you're considering doing. They themselves are scared to death to actually pursue purpose because they're comfortable. And let me tell you what comfortable turns into. Eventually, comfortable turns into miserable on some level. So that's fine if that's what you want. That's not what I teach, and I don't think that's what humans want.
How should somebody go about assessing a dream job opportunity? What constitutes a dream job?
Well, first we go back to getting clear again. I got clear. So does this job allow me to use what I do best, my talent? Does it allow me to do work that I love? Does it allow me to produce results that matter to me? 75% of my day ought to be in those 3 areas. That's the first thing. The second thing is it the right money? Is the money right at that point? Right? Because we know what it needs to look like functionally. Is the money right? Is the company right? Because it can be a dream job and be a mirage. Because I get in the company culture sucks, and I'm in my sweet spot, and I'm real confused because it's Ken. I'm doing it, talent, passion, mission.
Yeah.
But I don't want to come into work because it's an awful culture, right? So is it the right company? Is it the right timing for your family? Sometimes we have to delay some big moves. So we unpack that in the book.
It's a fascinating book. The concepts are great.
Thank you.
It's such a wonderful complement to the proximity principle. They seem like 2 puzzle pieces that really fit well perfectly together. Yeah. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share the story with our audience.
Well, you're doing good work and you're helping a lot of people, and I'm just really grateful just to be a part of this conversation and help folks. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ken. Whether it's by way of his nationally syndicated radio show, The Ken Coleman Show, his appearances across all types of national media, or through his best-selling books, Ken Coleman is a nonstop wealth of great advice that can inform and improve your decision-making in life and in work. If you're thinking about embarking on a second act, but you're just not clear on how to get started or how to focus your efforts, the wisdom contained in Ken's new book, From Paycheck to Purpose, will absolutely help to define your journey. You can find From Paycheck to Purpose or any of Ken's books at your local bookstore, at online booksellers like Amazon, or on Ken's website. www.kencoleman.com. Andy and I are always on the lookout for new people to profile on Second Act Stories. If you'd like to suggest a candidate, we'd love to hear from you. Just visit our website at www.secondactstories.org and click on the Nominate a Guest box at the top of the homepage. We hope you'll keep listening. There are more Second Act Stories just around the corner.